Hello, Pending. We are now at the Beijing Aerospace Control Center. This is a command and information exchange center for many, flight manned missions as well as lunar and Mars exploration missions. And this time for the Shenzhou-16 mission, as you can see behind me, the Shenzhou-16 crew are now ready in the spaceship, and all the ground team, control team here are still standing by. And I heard many times of the voices of the Beijing copy, the main operator of the dispatch team here at the Beijing Aerospace Control Center. They have been talking with different teams, including those in different locations on Earth, and also talking with crew of Shenzhou-15 now in orbit. So after lifting off, the Beijing Aerospace Control Center will take control of the whole monitoring and commanding and information exchange missions with the other teams. So they will closely monitor the flight and other status of the spaceship, and to keep a close eye on the flight status and make sure that the spaceship will dock with below of the Tianhe core module. So this time, Shenzhou-16, for last time, it takes about 6.5 hours for the Shenzhou spacecraft to dock with the Tianhe core module. And this time we will be here and standing here for more information, because we know that every year after the China's Tiangong space station has been operational, every year there will be 2 crewed missions to have a long-term operation of our space station. So every 6 months, there will be a rotation. And today, after about 6.5 hours, Shenzhou-16 crew will enter the Tiangong space station. They will have another historical meeting with the Shenzhou-15 crew. And 6 astronauts or technonauts will stay in orbit for some days, and then the Shenzhou-15 crew are expected to back on Earth, and Shenzhou-16 will stay there for about 6 months. So the ground team here, control team, will keep a close eye on the latest about their flight. Pandeng.
Thank you very much, our reporter Wu Lei at the Beijing Aerospace Command and Control Center. Now you're watching live footage from the launch tower at the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center. As we can see, that the middle part of the rocket is appearing now, right, gentlemen?
Yes, what we see now is a video from the camera mounted on the rotational platform.
So this particular shot is from the camera mounted on the launch tower, rather than
on the rotational
drone, right?
platform.
Yeah.
So you can see that the platform is leaving the payload fairing.
Yeah.
So you can see that there are grid fins folded on the payload fairing, which is used to stable the emergency escape system.
Those are the folded things are kind of a
Grid
stabilizer.
fins. Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
right.
You can call that stabilizers.
Yeah, stabilizers.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, that's the emergency escape system is composed not only the tower, but also we have rocket engines on the payload fairing. So you know that after liftoff, the first separation will be the jettisoning of the emergency escape tower. After that, if anything wrong happens, it will be based on the rocket engine, the solid rocket engines on the payload fairing.
Now we can see the whole rocket, a Long March 2F.
Yeah. So the Long March 2F have a very long history. It is based on the Long March 2E rocket. The Long March 2E is the first launch vehicle in China which have strapped-on boosters, the side boosters. And the capability of the Long March 2E is also, it is very interesting. First, it was designed for commercial market, for launching the satellite from other countries, because the capability can reach to 8.8 tons. So it was used to improve and then into this Long March 2F launch vehicle in 1990s. And the capability of the Long March 2F is different because it has 2 versions. One is used for launch this Shenzhou spaceship, which has an emergency escape system. So the capability is about 8.1 metric tons.
Indeed, and we can see that white blue building a little bit far away from the launch tower.
That's
the assembly.
vehicle assembly building, VAB.
Yes. And once assembled, the rocket, the combination to be precise, will be transported to the launch tower through
1.5 kilometers away.
Right.
And it is very interesting, you know, that Shenzhou-16 and together with the Long March 2F Y17 launch vehicle is in this building now, Shenzhou-17.
Oh, right.
Yes. So this combination of the Shenzhou-17 and the Long March 2F Y17 launch vehicle is used as a backup of this Shenzhou-16.
Well, talking about redundancy, right?
Yeah.
So it's a good picture that you can see the vertical assembly tower and the reel that in between the launch pad and the tower. So that is what we call a triple rib vertical to frozen, what we call frozen the technical parameters of the rocket. So it's, if you vertically assemble the rocket, vertically launching is the theoretically less troubleshooting status for the rocket itself.
And the diameter of the payload fairing is about 3.8 meters. And also, as I mentioned, there is another version of the Long March 2F, which have a larger payload fairing with a diameter of 4.2 meters, which is used to launch the Tiangong-1 and the Tiangong-2 space laboratories. So it has two versions, because you know that in that missions, we don't need the ensure the safety of the astronauts. It's unmanned, so some of the emergency escape systems are omitted, so the capability of the launch vehicle can reach to 8.6 metric tons.
Right.
But interestingly, this is the only thing that's launched from Jiuquan for the ground for the space station. The rest of the segments, including the cargoes, the Tianhe, the Wentian and Mengtian, are all launched from Hainan site.
Is that the same story to Tianzhou cargo vessel?
Exactly.
Right.
Yes. All of these station construction as well as the cargoes are from Hainan launch site.
And the latitude of this Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center is about 40 degrees. So that is the reason why we choose the inclination of our Tiangong space station. Inclination means the angle between the orbital plane of the Tiangong and the equator. So we choose 41.5 degrees as the inclination of our orbit. This is the major reason, because the latitude of the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center is about 40 degrees. And also there are other advantages. As we have already discussed, the climate of the Jiuquan Satellite Center is very dry here.
Dry.
So in most of the days, the weather is fine. And also, you know that along the trajectory of the Long March 2F, if anything wrong happened, in most cases, the emergency landing will happen in the mainland of China. So that will be easy for the rescue teams.
Now, speaking to CGTN, former NASA astronaut Donald Thomas shared his thoughts on China's space development program and explains why everyone works as a team in space.
China's space industry has changed so much in the last 3 years. What have you been looking at?
Yeah, I've been carefully watching the Chinese space program probably for the last 10 years. When the U-2 rover was on the moon, that's when I started watching, and I've just watched the growth of it, and the accomplishments have amazed me. Particularly Chang'e 5, bringing back some lunar soil, you know, totally successful mission. And I've watched the manned spaceflight program has been so rapid. That has really impressed me, how quickly they've developed in building of the Tiangong space station.
On the ground, there are geopolitical tensions. Will that affect international cooperation in space?
I'm all for peaceful purposes of space, and that's what I want to see. I've seen the competitive part of space during the space race. I've seen the cooperative part, and I prefer the cooperative, because even though we have political differences down here on Earth, in space, we work together and we have friendships. We've been working, the United States, have been working with the Russians for 30 years or more, you know, on the International Space Station. And even though politically on the ground we are hitting heads, in space, we're a team.
Now, this is the live footage from Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center, the weather reading here. And also a little bit more updates from the international attention. Elon Musk, CEO of SpaceX, says China's space program, I'm quoting now, is far more advanced than most people realize. Musk made remarks in response to a post on Twitter by Canadian astronaut Chris Hadfield. In a tweet, Hadfield cited Wu Weiren, chief designer of Chinese lunar exploration program, who forecast a Chinese taikonaut on the moon by the year 2030. So, gentlemen, China's lunar program. So the timeline is quite clear now. It's by the year 2030. So hopefully it will be a little bit earlier than that, maybe.
Hopefully. I think Professor Yang has mentioned that we have developed a new generation capsule that is capable of containing 6 to 7 astronauts at one time. And also we have launch vehicles and capabilities. There are many means to go to the moon. As the American astronaut mentioned about the Chang'e missions, we are taking samples back to Earth. That is just a miniature process of the manned mission, because if you can take samples back to Earth, enlarge that, you can take a man to Earth, to the moon and back. So that is the whole demonstration process for the manned mission. And I'm quite confident that with the technologies of in-orbit configurations and docking rendezvous, the moon is not so far.
Right, and obviously we need a larger rocket, right, Professor?
Mr. Pandong, you know that yesterday during the press conference of the Shenzhou-16 mission, Mr. Lin Xiqiang mentioned that we will walk on the moon before 2030. That is very, very exciting news.
Yeah.
So we confirm the schedule. You know that we are confident about this because you know that as we've already discussed, many of the technologies used on the new generation launch vehicle and the new generation spaceship are based on the current spacecraft. For instance, the 5-diameter launch vehicle, you know, that's the core module. You know, the core stage of the Long March 5 is with a diameter of 5 meters. So it means that if we use this 5-meter diameter, we can use most of the infrastructure utilized for the Long March 5 series in this manufacturing of the Long March 10. So that will be one of the very important advantage of this developing this lunar launch vehicle. Moreover, you see that currently, as we have already discussed, the new generation launch vehicle, Long March 5, 6, 7, use the rocket engine called YF-100 series, which have a thrust about 120 tons. So this engine is also improved with the technologies that it can be smaller. And with this improvement, 7 engines can mount it on the 5-diameter stage. So it can have a very large thrust. And if we mount 3 these kind of 5-diameter core stages together, it will form a new launch vehicle with a liftoff mass of more than 200 and 100 metric tons, and with a liftoff thrust about 2,700 metric tons. So this will be big enough to send a spacecraft to the moon with a mass more than 27 metric tons. So with these kind of launches, we can send the spaceship to the moon and the lunar module to the moon, and they will dock on the lunar orbit and then conduct a walk on the moon.
And also on Monday, after that press conference announcing China's lunar program timeline, I also see that China's Manned Space Authority have opened to basically open to the whole society, calling for designs of a lunar rover, right?
Yes, I think lunar rovers are what we call it probably robotic missions. As we have already seen in the Chang'e mission, we have from Chang'e 1 all the way to Chang'e 5, and that will continue to Chang'e 6 and 7. That has already been approved by the State Council for implementation. So the Chang'e mission is the prelude of the manned mission, and that design of facilities needs to be coherent with the manned mission in the future.
Indeed. Now let's get back to Earth a little bit and focusing on the rocket. Another crucial mark is about to come up, I believe, as the taikonauts are still preparing
it's about
for the
15
launch.
minutes.
Yes, we're approaching the 15-minute countdown to the launch. We can see the countdown clock at command center. Now it's the 15-minute countdown. We've passed that crucial mark. So we can see now the launch tower is fully opened.
Yep.
I can still see that the rocket is still held by some kind of arms, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you can see still some arms are very close to the fuselage of the core stage.
And let's take a closer look at the site, and let's cross live to our reporter Suya standing by at very close to the launch tower. Suya, bring us up to date.
Hey there, Pandun. Again, we are 1.5 kilometers from that launch complex, and we'll see the rocket itself. It's almost free of all its tethers, all its link to the ground, and right now it's almost standing free, and that means it's almost ready to go. As you said, we are minus 15 minutes from that launch. We heard the Zero commander say all of those things, including he's asking all the people to evacuate from that launch area, and we've seen cars, the final batch of cars getting away from the launch pad. It means we're really, really close to the launch, and we've been talking to experts from the rocket system, from the spaceship system. Everything is ready, everything is set, but even though the people have been evacuated, actually not everything can be moved away so close from the launch pad. And now I have actually a small viewing tip for you. Now 50 meters, just 50 meters from that launch pad, there is a tree, and for the last 25 years it has withstood fires, withstood burns from the rocket launch, and every year afterwards it is reborn. And people here from the launch center say this really showcased the tenacity, the spirits of this launch center, really also of China's manned space development, that tenacity that they will also carry on into their future missions. So in a few minutes, in 15 minutes actually, if you can take your eyes off the taikonauts, if you can take your eyes off the rocket and the spaceship, go look for that tree. But for now, everything here, from what we see, what we've heard, they are ready, they are set for the launch, and we will wait for that and see it with you. Pandong.
Thank you very much. Our reporter Suya at the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center. So, gentlemen, we can see that a convoy of vehicles are now leaving the launch tower site. That means we're really in the final stage to the launch, right?
We must count each of the person are not missed.
Right.
So that is really, really important for the ensure not only the safety of the astronauts, but also ensure safety of our ground staff.
So all those technicians, ground staff, assistants we see earlier helping the taikonauts or checking out the equipment, they have all left.
Yeah.
15 minutes and 1.5 kilometers. That's the clearance of the launch. And also there are bunkers underneath. There's some assistants helping the astronauts for the final preparation. They will leave, I think, just shortly before 5 minutes. These are last people. They will be hiding in the bunker. They will not leave the scene.
There will be no time to travel 1.5 kilometers.
From away, yes.
Right.
So they will hide in the bunker, but that is the whole process. The personnel will leave 15 minutes just before the launch.
Right.
You can see that the two astronauts is still reading the menu.
Right. Now we're about 11 minutes to the launch of the Shenzhou-16. They're confirming the estimated ignition time, right?
Yes, what we call this is a zero launch window.
Okay.
Because it has a very strict requirement. Because this launch is not an independent one. The object, the destination will be the Tiangong space station. So the basic requirement is to that when the Shenzhou spaceship comes into orbit, it must be in the same orbital plane with the Tiangong space station. So this is really a very strict requirement to our launch vehicle. So we mastered this zero launch window technology on the Shenzhou-8 mission during in 2011. But today we furtherly improved the technology from the zero launch window to narrow launch window, because you know that we have some design margin. So the capability of the launch vehicle is stronger than needed. So we can use this design margin to expand the launch vehicle from within 1 second to several seconds. So this is another improvement from the zero launch window to the narrow launch window.
Well, it has to. Every second matters in space program, right? Because for common people like me, it's just just a click of the clock's arm, but it will make whole difference in space, right?
It's quite critical. That if the orbit is not accurate enough, that the propellants in the Shenzhou spaceship is limited. So if the orbit is not accurate enough, it will has no chance or miss the chance to dock with the Tiangong space station. They do have this kind of examples in other countries. You see, during the maiden flight of the Starliner spaceship made by Boeing, because of it missed a very critical step of the ignition, so it missed a chance to dock with the International Space Station. This do happen before. So that is the reason why we must confirm the accuracy of the orbital parameters before we announce the success of the launch.
Look at those audience at the side. They're waiting. They're waiting for that a big moment.
You may notice that from this video we can see that at this moment still the face window of the helmet is still opened now, so it is not necessary to protect themselves. But several seconds before the launch, the 3 astronauts will close their helmet. So this IVA spacesuit can provide the second protection to them to the very fatal vacuum condition.
Right. So you're watching live footage from Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center. This is inside the capsule, the Shenzhou-16 spacecraft.
The liftoff thrust of the Long March 2F is about 600 metric tons. So it's a very powerful launch vehicle. As I have mentioned, the mass of the Shenzhou spaceship is about 8.1 metric tons. So it is a very big spacecraft, and the launch vehicle will work for about 10 minutes, both the first and the second stage, and then it will entering the orbit maybe at the eastern coast of China, very close to Qingdao.
Right, and once they are in the outer space, they're waiting for that called fast docking process.
Exactly.
This time. What does fast docking mean? What is a slow docking anyway?
Well, slow docking, normally we had docking that took more than 20 hours. Once you, like Professor Yang mentioned, that you have to have the right inclination. That's the orbital plane. The inclination means that's you're traveling on the right track. And then there's an element of the altitude. You have to go to the right altitude to catch up with the station. The station is traveling at 7.6 kilometers per second. That is very high speed. And you have to travel in such a way that you have to maneuver and dock with the station. That all the element plays very important.
Gentlemen, I think the Shenzhou-16 crew are now watching the upcoming launch from the space station.
They are watching the live coverage.
Yeah, it's on your right, on your screen's right side, and so we've got live footage from 2 so different places. One's on Earth and one's in space.
Traveling at 6.7.
We can achieve this because we have the Tianlian data relay satellite.
Okay, so
now,
it's a two-way system, right?
Two-way video transfer.
Yeah, so that's why we can see live streaming from inside the China space station right now. So I believe with this, the fast docking, how long it will take this time?
Roughly, fast docking is roughly 6 hours.
6 hours.
I think.
So let's say in a little bit more than 6 hours.
Yes, I think this
the 3 taikonauts inside the China space station will meet 3 new colleagues.
They'll meet for dinner.
In space.
So the fast rendezvous and docking raise a very strict requirement to the launch window. That several days before we just conducted an orbit maneuver to raise the orbit of the Tiangong space station. This can be recognized as a very important preparation for today's launch, because that's the fast rendezvous docking can only be satisfied when the relative position of the 2 spacecraft has meet some requirements. So this is the reason we conducted the orbit maneuver of the Tiangong space station, and we just launched the Shenzhou-16 today.
This is the view you never see before because it's used by the drone. The drone to film.
From a very safe distance, right?
Yeah, they
and
have
you're watching live footage from the Jiuquan Satellite Launch
But we can
Center.
have
This is the launch tower. It's fully open now. We can see the Long March, the combination of the Long March 2F rocket and the Shenzhou-16 spacecraft. Now we're about to reach another crucial mark.
T minus 5 minutes.
Yeah, T minus, very, in a professional way. 5 minutes to the launch. Right, we've passed the 5-minute countdown to the launch, T minus 5.
And
so the launch will take place at 09:31 Beijing time. That's 01:31 GMT. Yes, Professor.
And the onboard computer of the Long March 2F rocket will be in charge of the control of the whole vehicle after several seconds.
So can we say it's kind of an automated process?
Yes,
Okay.
because you know
but human can intervene at any time. Override?
We have the remote control system, but at this moment, maybe after several seconds, the onboard computer will in charge of everything.
Right.
So you can see these two black holes by the newcomers. Those
Yes.
are two windows.
Right.
That's privileged to these two newcomers.
Okay.
The commander does not see the window, but these two new guys will see the window. But it's
For the
still,
view, right? That's
for the view.
view.
Yes. But it's still black because of outside is the fairing.
Yeah.
But once you deploy the fairing, they will see the whole Earth. I mean,
You see, look, they have already closed their helmet.
Okay. Helmet.
So
Helmet closed.
It
for
forms the
all
airtight
three
sealing.
icons.
Airtight sealing.
So it's another redundancy for safety purpose. Yeah. Because the cabin is already have a life support system because the oxygens and temperatures all adjusted.
They're holding hands.
Yeah.
The
Working as a
atmosphere
team. Best wishes for this mission.
I think it's the commander giving these two some courages.
Yeah.
And it is
And
very
the commander, Jing Haipeng, is 56 years old now, and the other two colleagues of his are
36.
all 36
Yes.
years old. So this is kind of a generational relay race in the Chinese.
20-year gap.
Yeah, 20-year gap. But let's remember, Mr. Jing Haipeng made it very clear that there is no generational gap between them. Yeah.
When he mentioned this, there is.
Yeah.
T minus 3 minutes and counting.
Psychologically, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Then I think the last
3
guy
minutes
is already-
countdown to the launch.
Last guy from the tower is already in the bunker, so everybody's clear from the tower.
Yeah. Waiting for the big moment. The
And
sky
next
is
you
really
can see
clear.
that the rotational arms will leave the vehicle.
There's still a reddish small arm that is still providing some.
Connections.
Yeah.
And that arm will
Yeah.
evacuate in last seconds, maybe
yeah.
minutes. Yeah.
Minute, just
Because
one.
there are some
within 1 minute.
plug-ins. It will be unconnected from the launch vehicle.
Right.
Oh,
See
you
these
can
two?
see.
Yeah.
Okay.
The reddish.
Yeah,
arm.
this is the last remaining arms that's still
These
holding the
rotational
rocket.
arms.
And then once these two leaves, you can see that the rocket is standing on 4 small pins. So that is, the stability of the rocket. You have to, keep this very centralized gravity.
The cables on these arms are connected to the onboard computer of the launch vehicle.
You two gentlemen are already industrial veterans. Are you still excited about this? Because right now my heart is
Every
pumping
time we are
faster.
nervous.
You are?
Yeah.
Every time?
Every time it's very nervous.
You've seen this too much, I thought.
Exciting and nervous.
Right. The 3 taikonauts are ready. The launch of the Shenzhou-16 manned space mission is imminent at the moment. 09:31 is the launch time for this mission. You're watching live footage from Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center in northwestern China. This is live footage from inside the Shenzhou-16 spacecraft. The 3 taikonauts are ready to go.
It seems that the 3 crew members are much more calm than us.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, they're well trained. 1 minute countdown to the launch. 1 minute countdown to the launch.
And the arm will be open.
Anytime. Yes.
50 seconds to the launch.
See, it's separated.
Now, the rocket is in standalone mode, ready for launch and ignition.
Now at this stage, the rocket is on its own. The navigation is
30 seconds to go.
So this is a video from the drone.
Never been seen this.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Lift off.
起飞。机龄动90，3腰分13秒，自发动后秒。机龄动90，3腰分13秒，自发动后秒。
酒泉程序转弯。
程序转弯。
Pitch over means that it has already changed its direction from vertical direction to the
to a certain angle, right? We can also see that from a far
to
short.
the eastward.
Yes.
金山 USB 雷达跟踪正常，遥测信号正常。
The Shenzhou-16.
So this is a video mount with from the camera mounted on the core stage.
Right.
And this is an infrared image.
遥测信号正常，东风飞行正常。
You're watching live footage on the launch of the Shenzhou-16 spacecraft to China Space Station.
And the next critical step will be the jettisoning of the emergency escape tower.
Right.
Again, this is infrared.
We can see a clear angle change, right?
Yeah. So it's flying eastward.
So will there be still some adjustment of the angle to the 41.5 degree as you earlier mentioned?
Yeah. So the inclination. So this is you can see the two of the boosters.
There are 4 in total,
There are
right?
4.
Yeah.
So there are 2 on this
Yeah,
side.
just from one side. Yeah.
Should be able to see it when separation.
Right.
So the emergency escape tower will be jettisoned soon.
You can see some light sparks on the top of the rocket when it's injected.
Right. And on the right side of the screen is the simulation.
3D simulation, but it is driven by the real data.
Real data, of
which
course.
means that the position and the jettison.
Now, the jettison of the escape tower.
Yeah. And the next step will be separation of the 4 boosters.
Right. Let's wait.
Great.
For those step by step.
Followed by separation of the fairing.
The G forces acting on the bodies of the astronauts are increasing.
We can see the burning mark on the engines, right? So right now is really high into the atmosphere, right?
Separated.
Okay, separation of the 4 engines.
And the core stage is also separated.
Core stage separated.
So this is again the infrared image. We can see very clear the 4 boosters and the first stage.
They've already separated from.
Now it's already on the working of the second stage.
Second stage.
As I mentioned, it has 1 main engine and 4 vernier engines.
Right.
They
say they feel so comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're talking.
I think they've done the max Q, which is the maximum gravity.
They've already done that.
Yeah, they've already done it.
So you can see this is a camera from the video mounted on the second stage.
Second stage.
And this is a camera in the payload fairing. And the next critical step will be the jettisoning of the payload fairing. Okay.
It's all done.
It's jettisoned.
Already done.
Yeah.
Now they can see the sightseeing from the window.
Yes, they can see the outside.
Yes. So are they out of the Earth atmosphere right now?
Exactly.
So can we say they're already in outer space?
Yes.
You're watching live footage from inside the Shenzhou-16 spacecraft. The 3 taikonauts are now in outer space, heading towards the China Space Station. On the left side of the screen, we can see the camera mounted still on the
On core stage.
core stage.
The second
outside
stage.
the core stage.
Yeah. So this is the working of the second stage of the Long March 2F rocket vehicle. Still, on the left of the screen is the infrared videos.
Right.
And the second stage of the Long March 2F worked much longer than the first stage because it only has 1 main engine.
Right.
With a thrust about 80 tons.
This is the image of the stage, the second stage engine.
The main engine of the second stage is fixed, and you can see that the small engine on the left on the left corner, the small vernier engine can change its direction to control the trajectory.
Okay, but the main engine is fixed its angle.
Yeah.
For propulsion purpose.
Yeah, right.
And usually we separate the payload fairing at the altitude of about 100 kilometers. So at this moment, according to the definition,
now we can see again live streaming from inside the China space station.
They are watching the live coverage.
They're getting closer.
They're getting closer and closer to their colleagues at this moment.
And also on the right bottom of the screen, we can see the 3D animation, and also you can see the data link between the ground stations and the launch vehicle.
Okay, so 3 of them.
Three ground stations.
3 ground stations.
At this moment, they're constantly changing.
Right.
So they are experiencing the.
It's also a relay race between different ground.
They have a relay.
Downstream.
Yes.
And this is a video on the rear part of the second stage.
It's still working at this moment,
It's
right?
still working.
burning.
And the next critical step will be the shutdown of the main engine. But
we can see the Earth, right?
Yes.
yes, it's very bright.
So they're now in outer space, and the second stage engine is still at work. What's the next stage aim? They're adjusting the position angles or
adjusting its trajectory.
Trajectory.
You can see, although it is in daytime, but the sky is black because they were already in outer space in a vacuum condition.
So the rocket engine will take them to the right velocity and right altitude, and right orbit before there is a separation between the engine and the capsule itself. And then the final success will be indicated by the deployment of the solar array.
Right. Wow.
They are very relaxed.
Yes.
The Shenzhou-16 crew are relaxed and happily waiting for their colleagues. But we can also see that the 3 tachinauts in Shenzhou-16 spacecraft, they're also relaxed because they've well trained for this process.
Yes.
And so far, it's been a smooth process.
Mr. Dr. Zhu Yangzhu and Dr. Gui Haichao, at this moment, they are already qualified to be an astronaut because they are already above the common line. Above
common line?
Yeah.
It's a professional jargon.
The altitude is 100 kilometers.
Okay.
So that is the artificial definition of the border of the outer space.
Right. The final frontier, right?
Yep.
Named under von Karman,
Right.
the renowned scientist.
So what about staying time? What if someone just passes out Mark and re-enters?
I think there's a
the main engine is shut down.
The second stage engine is now shut down.
No, still the 4 vernier engines are working.
Okay. The main engine.
Main engine is
has
already shut down.
Which means they have reached the velocity and the altitude already.
And the vernier engine will do some very precise adjustment of the trajectory.
Still, we're watching live footage from the camera mounted on this second stage. This is live stream from outer space.
Yes. And after shutdown of the vernier engines, next will be the separation of the launch vehicle and the Shenzhou spaceship.
On the left, you can see the folded solar array. This is the stack of the solar array that has been folded in on the Shenzhou spaceship.
So at this moment, the cabin is still powered by batteries or what?
Yes,
batteries.
powered by batteries.
Storage batteries.
Storage batteries. Yes. And once the solar panel is opened, then it can generate power by itself.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can see
the
on
ground
the
stations
3D
are still
animation.
tracking the flight.
Yeah, from the 3D animation at the bottom right, you can see still that the 4 vernier engines are still working.
Right.
To adjust the trajectory.
So when Professor Yang mentioned the Verling engine, this is the process they take full advantage of the launch vehicle, because the Shenzhou itself has its own adjustment system, but it's to take full advantage of the launch vehicle competence, and then after separation, the Shenzhou is on itself for adjustment.
Oh, they're still definitely watching in the same position. So yes, they're relaxed, but they're still anxious to
they will meet their colleagues
see the success of the launch at least, right?
Yes.
Well, we are also still anxiously waiting for that moment.
Okay, shut down.
separation.
二级油机关机，
二级油机关机，
船
船舰分离。
Now, the engine has left the spacecraft.
Yes.
So the spacecraft is on its own now.
And the next step will be unfolding of the solar panels.
Right.
That means the launch vehicle has done its job.
It has now
北京
completely
入轨
left
指令链发送开
the
始。
spacecraft. Its job is done.
The March 2F is done. It's
And
finished.
next, we will measure the precise orbital parameters of the Shenzhou spaceship. And once it was confirmed that it is accurate enough, we can announce the success.
Right.
Now astronauts are feeling microgravity environment. They can throw up their pin and they're floating.
We just heard the voice, the Changjiang 3, which means the space tracking ship.
Now, on the left-hand side are the Shenzhou-16 crew, and on the right side of the screen are the Shenzhou-15 crew. They're about to meet soon, once the docking is completed, and they will do a handover, right?
Yeah, in orbit.
Yeah, and eventually the Shenzhou-15 crew will go back to Earth.
Prepare a meal for 6.
You just heard that, right?
Yes.
That's crucial for a long trip, right?
You know that the Mr. Deng Qingming from the Shenzhou-15 crew is already a grandfather.
Right.
Yeah. His daughter is also working in our space field.
So it's also a generational thing. Yeah.
Now we're looking at the solar panel that's ready to be deployed.
We can see clearly the Earth is
Yes.
now, at least for us, it's on the right-hand side of the Shenzhou-16 spacecraft.
Yeah. So I believe this is a video from the camera mounted on the propulsion module of our Shenzhou spaceship. So you can see the solar panels.
So this camera will be there, right?
Yeah. And you know that transferring signals with videos need a very high capacity.
Is it more constrained by bandwidth or other
Exactly.
transmission?
So there are coordinations between NERS and the ITU to get the compatible radio frequency.
Now, the solar panel is unfolding.
Unfolding very slowly. Great.
Now it's fully unfolded from what we can see. But we still need confirmation from ground control. The Shenzhou-50 crew inside the China space station are watching closely. They've been watching in almost the very same positions, right?
北京明白。
Now Beijing
太阳帆板展开正常。
solar panel unfolded as planned. I just heard confirmation from the Beijing Aerospace Command and Control Center.
遥测信号正常。
So the Beijing Center has taken over.
Now the command has changed from the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center to the Beijing Flight Control Center. But still,
And it will be so.
yeah, but still
in the rest of the
the announcement
mission.
of the success will be in the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center.
太阳帆板驱动正常。
长程报告，中继天线展开正常。
Great. The antenna for the data relay satellite has already been unfolded.
And the solar panel, I just heard the solar panel is working
Normally,
as planned.
we
Yeah,
have
normally.
we just heard the voice that the driver, we call that SADA, work very normally. The solar array drive assembly called SADA work normally.
That's the arm of the
Right.
the solar array.
Yeah. You have so many abbreviations and jargons in your profession. This is a kind of a NASA left tradition.
The SADA has been used widely in the community.
长江3号进轨结果已发出。
Okay, let's report the space tracking ships called Changjiang, which means the Yuanwang space tracking ship, has already sent the measurements of the orbital parameters.
But that means that it's already in the Pacific Ocean.
Yes, exactly.
It's above the Pacific. It's outside China already.
So, two
神舟16号，我是北京，通报座舱大气环境及身体状况。
teams.
神舟10号明白。
One's expecting to meet the other, and the other is watching closely on the successful launch, the announcement of a successful launch. So we're still in kind of, technically speaking, we're still in the launch process, right? Until that announcement of a successful launch.
As I mentioned, we must confirm that the orbital parameters is accurate enough. Only at these circumstances we can announce it is a success.
神舟16号经地面确认，座舱环境正常，可以打开面窗。
Now they can open their helmets now.
Yeah, because
so
they must first monitor the parameter of the atmosphere. There do have what we call life support system, environmental control and life support system inside the cabin.
You can see the right side, the window is very bright.
Yeah.
So
they're facing sunlight, basically. Or the reflection of sunlight from the Earth.
Reflection of the Earth, yes. On the other side, it's also quite bright. I think it's they can enjoy a good view after they lift the helmet.
Right. You can see Mr. Zhu Yangzhu on the far side.
Yeah.
Just near his seat, there is a button to cut the parachutes.
Oh, really? Where's the button exactly?
The button during the landing, Mr. Zhu Yangzhu will be in charge of cutting the parachute.
I see, because he's the flight engineer, right?
No, because he is 02.
Oh, 02.
各号注意，我是北京。根据北京实时轨道与遥测数据监视判断，神舟16号飞船已进入近地点高度200公里，远地点高度360.8公里，倾角41.3度，周期1小时30分钟的预定轨道。飞船太阳帆板展开，工况正常，航天员状态良好，后续工作按正常飞控计划实施。
Professor, you've got your parameters now. What's your reading?
Well, according to the announcement of the commander in Beijing Flight Control Center, the orbital parameters are very accurate. I believe that next the commander in the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center will announce the result of the launch.
And I also heard readings on the apogee and perigee.
Yeah.
So why is that? That's kind of crucial indicators for a right
orbit? Very
crucial.
Actually speaking, the perigee and apogee it must be lower than our space station. According to the feature of orbital dynamics, the lower it is, the faster it rotates. So it is a chasing vehicle chase our Tiangong space station. Within 6 hours, they will meet their colleagues.
So 6 hours, a fast stalking process. Yeah.
So we can hear the apogee and the perigee is 360 something. The station is 370 something. So that is just below the station that can catch up at the right point.
下面请酒泉卫星发射中心主任、发射场区指挥部周立鹏指挥长宣布发射结果。
Now we're waiting for the official announcement of the result of the launch of the Shenzhou-16 mission.
尊敬的各位领导、
officials,
专家、
experts, and comrades.
根据火箭飞行
According to the flight data and report from Beijing Aerospace Center, the Long March 2 Y-16 carrier rocket has sent Shenzhou-16 manned spacecraft to the preset orbit. The solar panel has been unfolded successfully and is functioning well. I now declare the launch of Shenzhou-16 mission a complete success.
Now, this just came in. China has just officially announced the successful launch of the Shenzhou-16 manned spacecraft with 3 taikonauts on board. For more on that, let's cross live to our reporter Wu Lei at Beijing Aerospace.